Okay, I've got the handle sanded down with the, to shape. It feels pretty good in my hand. I think I like the profile pretty well. So the next step would be sanding it down to its final sanding, so I'll start with 80 grit sandpaper and then go to 220. You're really not trying to shape it at this point. You're just trying to get out the kind of the rough corners and the roughness of the texture as it is right now. And then once you're done with the 80 grit, you obviously go to the 220. It's quite a bit more polished than it was before. I've sanded the 80 grit down to get all of the rough edges out, and I've sanded it down with the 220 that helps, gets all the scratches out, so it's pretty smooth now. And so the next step will be to attach it to the blade and to drill the holes for the mounting and for the lanyard hole. So I will be attaching that using the same double-sided tape so that it's on there really good, and then I'll use a drill press to drill the holes the same diameter as the blade originally had on it for the mounting holes. So I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do the lanyard, whether I'm just going to drill a hole through it the same size as that like I did on my last one, or I might do something a little different. But the next step, like I said, is to attach it so I can drill at least the mounting holes. One other issue I wanted to bring up on the scales for this knife. If you're making handles for a stainless steel knife that's not got paint on it or anything, this is not the process you would follow. The reason that I'm doing it this way is because the handles are removable, and I do not want to mar the original paint that comes on this knife. If I was to do this on a stainless steel knife, what I would do is I would attach these handles permanently if I wanted to do that, or at the very least I would attach them and then grind the handles while attached to the knife down to the profile of the handle. That's the only way you're ever going to get it to be absolutely perfect in terms of, at least the only way I know of to get it absolutely perfect to the profile of the handle. You can get pretty close doing it this way, but it's much more time consuming and not as precise. So normally on a stainless steel blade that were not removable, you would epoxy them on with 2-ton epoxy and put them in a clamp, and then they would be grossly oversized to this, and then you would sand them down and grind them down while attached, so that you would get a perfect match with the edge, and then you would put rivets in as well, brass rivets, or you would do it at the same time. You can really do it either way. But I wanted to mention this is not the way you would do all knives, just ones like this where you want the handles to be removable and you don't want to affect the finish that's already on the knife. So like for example, if you were making a knife from either just a standard stainless steel blank that you might buy from a supply house, or if you were to buy like a Necker type knife that's stainless steel that you wanted to attach handles to, that's been, where the knife is skeleton style, you would follow a different procedure. So just wanted to throw that in there. Okay, I have attached this and put it on the drill press and drilled the holes from the back using these holes as the guides. I've also drilled a hole for the lanyard. I'm going to do that a little different this time. As you might notice, this hole is substantially smaller than the hole that is in the steel. There's a couple reasons for that. One, I don't really want to have that thin an amount of wood exposed to the edge because it becomes a point of failure. And also, I wanted to try something a little different on this one. Instead of just going ahead and putting a hole right through it, all the way through to the other side, what I'm going to do is I drilled a hole that was the same size as this copper tube. So I'm going to, well, it does fit, believe it or not, barely. I'm going to wind up putting this tube through here, and then I'll either super glue or epoxy that in. So this is large enough diameter that you can get a piece of 550 through it, and that's really all I care about. So I'm going to put this in and then epoxy that in and then sand it off flush, and then do a little bit of detail stuff on that. But that's what I'm going to do for the lanyard hole instead of just drilling that large hole in it. So now I take this off. Well, I put the other side on. I use this as a drill hole for the other side for the lanyard hole, and then I can take the rest of it off and just use the blanks. I can't use the blank because it's not the exact same size. So that's the process. Okay, these are now drilled. Got the lanyard holes and the bore holes in both of them. Now I have to expand them so that, or countersink them, so that they can receive the nuts and the bolts. I'll use these as a guide. I'll drill both sides with a drill bit the same size as that hole, except that on this side I'll have to drill it and then chisel out the hexagonals for the nuts to go into. So that's a little tricky. It's not really tricky so much as you just have to be really patient and have the right size and a very sharp chisel and not screw it up, because it's kind of easy to do that. But that's what I'll do next. I'll drill those out and chisel those out. We have them. We have the holes drilled on the one side and the holes drilled on the other with the little hexagonal cutouts made. Hexagonal cutouts are hard to do, and mine are certainly not perfect, but they will definitely hold in the hex head bolts, or the nuts. So there you go, and then you just place them in there. Okay, now we have them attached. The fit is pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's not too bad. Got the holes drilled for the nuts and the bolts, and they're all attached, so it'll hold on there. Now the next step is to install the lanyard hole tube. Okay, here they are before polishing. I've sanded them down as much as I'm going to, and put the copper tubes through on both of them, protruding a little bit so that when they come through they'll not quite touch but come close, so that it's easier to thread the 550 through. But there they are. Show them to you after they're buffed out. Okay, y'all, I've buffed it out and put it on. So this is pretty much it for the scales. The buffing obviously makes it much more shiny and darker in color, but you can see there, kind of. I'll take some better pictures of it and then post them on the end of the video. That will probably make you be able to see it a lot better. But it's a lot of work. I mean, it takes several hours to do all this, but I do like the results. This is probably not a wood I will try again. It does splinter fairly easily, and so I'd probably stick with something like bloodwood or walnut or something like that, but or one of the others that I'd mentioned earlier in the video. But I think it looks nice. It's just a little harder to work with than I'd hoped. Splinters pretty easily, but feels good. Fits in the sheath fine. I'll probably be making a sheath for it. Not today though, but I probably will eventually, and I'll probably keep these on here. I think they'll work fine. So I'll take some more pictures and put them in the end, and that's it. Hope you liked it. Hope you, if you decide to make some of your own, hope this video helps. So talk to y'all later.